What's up, everybody? It's your boy Harley here, bringing you some MLB top 10 list. I'm gonna bring you my top 10 catchers for the 2018 season coming up. Now, I'm not gonna do predictions on what I think they're gonna do this year. I'm just gonna tell you list the last year's stats off and the order I think they should be ranked in this year. But I'm not too sure if I want to start rattling off some, uh, predictions for stats this upcoming year because I can always start doing that. But today is going to be our top 10 catchers for the 2018 season and what they brought to the table this year and what they can improve upon next year. So with number 10, we're going to go Tucker Barnhart from the Cincinnati Reds. He's 26 years old. He played 121 games last year, had about 423 plate appearances, hit 270, had an on base percentage of 347, and a slugging percentage of 403, and a 96 OPS plus. He had 7 home runs and a 21 DRS. So, and also his WAR was a 3.4. So Tucker Barnhart was a terrific catcher last year. He had a 44% caught stealing rate. So if you ran on him, most likely you're going to be out. That was an NL high, by the way. He saved more runs with his arm than any other catcher in baseball last year. He has a complete cannon. If you watch him, I'm telling you right now, this guy, blink your eyes, the ball's at second base. I'm telling you, you got a cannon. It's pretty crazy. He's a terrific blocker behind the plate. Doesn't let much slip by him. But the one downfall he has in his defense is that his framing needs more work. And specifically, he has an 83.1% in zone strike calls. So that means, like, let's say you throw a strike right down the middle. That's in zone, right? Right down the middle, that's in the zone. He only got calls in the zone 83.1% of the time, and that's very low for a catcher. So he really needs to work on that, and that would really up his game because it's hard. You get a strike and the umpire doesn't call it, and it's hard. So his framing does need work. So that would be our number 10 catcher, number 10 ranked catcher for this upcoming season. Looking at his stats, he he has a great on base percentage, 347, a good average. It could use his slugging could use a little work. 403 is pretty low. You'd like to see that higher 400s or maybe closer to 500. Um, but worst comes to worst, if he could just be a solid at bat, hard to get out, and all that good stuff, it doesn't have to hit 20, 30 home runs a year at the catcher position. Just keep being what you are, that defensive catcher that can hit pretty well. That's not an easy out. There's a ton of people that could be a great catcher in the MLB, but they just can't hit a lick. Um, like Austin Romine on the Yankees, he's great. He's a great catcher, but he can barely hit an extended playing time. So as long as he can, keep hitting like he did last year, he should be fine. He just really needs to work on his framing. So number 9, we're gonna go Austin Hedges from the San Diego Padres. He's 25 years old, played in 120 games last year, had about 417 plate appearances, hit 214, had a 262 on base percentage, and had a 398 slugging, a 74 OPS plus. He had 18 home runs and 7 DRS. He had a great caught stealing percentage at 37. Top framer, can steal strikes and won't let you lose them. I believe he had a high, like 89 point or maybe in the 90s percentage of strikes in zone called. He's a great blocker, but really needs to up his offense. Um, his approach at the plate is very bad. He has 122 Ks to 23 walks, and that's not a good percentage at all. You like to get that closer. It's very hard to get your walks above your Ks, though, so that probably won't happen, but that's just really bad. Like, his offense is not that good, but I mean, he had 18 home runs. Um, so he's a free swinger right there. He likes to try to pull the ball. If he could work on that, start making better contact, hard contact, and put more balls in play, Guy could be one of the top catchers in baseball. Baseball Prospectus made a really great argument that he could be the best defensive catcher in baseball last year. He's real athletic and has such a great arm. So I would say Austin Hedges would be number 9. So getting on with that, a lot of these guys, they're very young, and most of them are up and coming. There's a few veterans on there. I think the oldest one is our next one right here. We're going to go out on a limb and say Yadier Molina, our number 8, is going to be probably not a top 5 catcher next year. I mean, if you rank him this year, he probably was about top 5. Last year really fell off, but this year had a great bounce back year. He's 35 years old, played in 136 games, so he's healthy this year, and that's great because Yadier Molina is one of the best catchers of the last 10 years. Great catcher. Had a 543 plate appearances and 273 average, a 312 on base, and a 439 slugging, a 96 OPS plus, hit 18 home runs, which I think ties a career high or isn't a career high for him, so that's really good for him. And he had 3 DRS. His WAR was a 2, 36% caught stealing, way up from last year. He was hurt last year, supposedly, so great to see him healthy. He's a good blocker and a good framer, and, his longevity in this league, I believe he's been catching for about 14, 15 years, and the longevity he has to be doing what he does still at a top-tier level is just insane. But I do see him falling off. He did fall off last year, but then again, he wasn't that healthy, but I just don't see him keeping up production so much, and he's always been a softer hitter. So we'll keep saying, you can't always have your defense carry you when you get so old. And as a catcher, and I used to be a catcher, it's hard. And I was never a catcher at these guys. These guys are elite. I was never that good, but it was really hard on the body. I couldn't imagine doing that for 14, 15 years. So watch him to deteriorate next year. Next, we're going to go with Mike Zunino. And I was having real trouble putting him over Yadier. But I just think, he's young, and he had a great year last year. Average was up, on base percentage was up. Still a free swinger, but he did play in 124 games, had 435 plate appearances. He had 251, had a 331 on base, and a 509 slugging, so he does hit the ball well and hit the ball out. 123 OPS plus, 25 home runs, and 1 DRS. He's not that great of a catcher. 24 caught stealing percentage was very low. Decent framer, won't really steal you many strikes, but won't let you lose them. Pretty decent in-zone percentage. Nothing too crazy. Like I said, free swinger. He had a 3.3 WAR. Not too bad. Great, great thump in the lineup. Probably a nice little 6-hitter right there. Has shown pretty good, prowess at the plate. I think last year he was hitting like 212, so great to see him progressing there. Just would love to see him become more of a defensive catcher, because at this point it's just like he's not hitting that well to keep him as a catcher. You might want to move him because he's hurting you, but I digress. But we're gonna go with number 6 here, and our number 6 would be Yasmani Grandal, and he's 28 years old. Played in 129 games. 482 plate appearances, hit 247, on-base percentage of 308, had a 459 slugging, 100 OPS plus, 22 home runs, 5 DRS, a WAR of 2.2. Caught stealing percentage was 32%, so he did get you at a good clip right there. Didn't let many base stealers get on you. But he did have 16 pass balls, which I believe led the league last year from catchers. But he is an elite framer. He will get you strikes, will steal you them strikes, and will not let you lose any strikes in the zone. Guy is really elite with his framing, which really helps his game, but he needs to learn how to block the ball better. And he's only 28 years old. But he did have a better offensive season a couple years ago, so I guess it would be 2 years ago. Because last year, he had a decent one last year, but it was really good 2 years ago. So a little drop off there. But yeah, he really needs to fix those pass balls, and he'd be really great. Because everything else is really solid. But 16 pass balls, can't let that happen. Pass balls hurt a lot, especially when base stealers are, you got people on base, pass ball, they get to advanced base, depending where they are, could score. So it really needs to work on that. But other than that, solid. And he's at number 6. So we're getting to our top 5 here. These guys are really great catchers. I mean, all of these guys are great catchers, but this is like the cream of the crop right here. Have some, I won't say iffy picks. Some people wouldn't have my number 5 pick so low, but I just think that's where he is. I just don't see him there. So I'm going to just go ahead. Number 5, we're going to go with Salvador Perez, age 27, 129 games, 499 plate appearances, had a 268 average and a 297 on base with a 495 slugging, 105 OPS plus. He hit 27 home runs and a 6 DRS. So, and he had a 2.5 WAR. So my notes on him are he's a great defensive catcher, but he'll block your balls, he'll throw out people. He was hovering about 34% caught stealing. But framing, he's one of the worst framers in baseball and cannot scare. He's a big guy. I think he's about 6'4", 250 something pounds, and he just can't secure a low strike for nothing. You throw a low strike, right by the knees, where usually that should be called. He does not get it. But his framing really needs to be worked on because it's really bad, and it just becomes detrimental sometimes. A lot of people, oh, so what if they're not a good framer? But it does help when you can get that extra couple strikes a game, or you're losing strikes. So he really needs to work on that. But other than that, he's 27 years old. He's really good. One of the best catchers we have. Has a couple gold gloves on his belt, a couple silver sluggers. Really, he's pulling the ball well now, and his launch angles have changed. I read something on that. So his launch angles are better, and he's popping out more home runs than ever. I think last year he had 20-something as well, but I think this might have been a career high for him. Great catcher, though, for the Kansas City Royals. Probably one of the only people that are going to be back on that team from last year of the couple stars that they have. But we're going to go number 4, and I really think JT Realmuto deserves this spot. He played in 141 games, 579 plate appearances, hit 278 with a 332 on-base percentage, 451 slugging, and 109 OPS plus. He hit 17 home runs with a negative 2 DSR, 3.6 WAR, 32% caught stealing, so, hovering around that average. I'd say for a lot of people about 30-something is average. Not much to say about him. He can hit the ball pretty well, and he's becoming better and better with each year he's been playing. He's an average framer. Really won't steal you many strikes, but really won't let you lose them. So he really needs to work on that. I mean, he's only, 20? I did not write that down. I just take a look. JT Realmuto, because I want to get his age right. 1 second. 26 years old. So he has time to work on that. Played in a lot of games this year. I think he played in the most amount of games played from any of these players this year. Take a look. 129, 120, 136, 120, 121. Yeah, he's played the most games out of all these players this year. Yeah, and he's getting really good, and he's a prime candidate to get traded. So you put him on a better team with some more protection, and I really feel like he'll step up even more than he did last year. So be on the watch for that. Now, number 3, we're going to go with, I think, personally, had a really great year last year, which is undeniable. Really, not so young, 25 years old. Wilson Contreras from the Chicago Cubs. Played in 117 games, which that should see an increase. 428 plate appearances, 276 average, and a 356 on base, and a 499 OPS. Not OPS, slugging, and 119 OPS plus. He had 21 home runs and a 7 DRS. He needs to work on his framing, and he has a great arm. Really, really strong arm, but he has 9 throwing errors, so they're a little wild. So what's the point, you know? You can't get it accurate, and over there, 9 throwing errors really needs to be worked on. But he did have a 3.9 WAR. I know he did play a little outfield last year, but I think he's going to be mainly the catcher for the Cubs now. So he really needs to work on those throwing errors. It's not really that great. 9 throwing errors, you don't really want that. You know, he has a great arm, like I said before, but just can't get the ball to the second baseman or shortstop, or I guess third base to throw anybody out. But he did sit about 30-something%, so he's still getting people out. Now we're going to go with our top 2 catchers. Top 2 catchers, I would say number 2 would be Gary Sanchez, and I'm not going to say he's number 1, even though I really want to. You guys know I'm a big Yankee fan, but he's age 24, had 122 games played. Probably would have been a little more if he didn't get hurt. I think he missed about a month, I believe. Close to that, a couple weeks. So he missed about a couple weeks of the season, played 122 games, had 525 plate appearances, hit 278 with a 345 on-base percentage, slugged about 531, had 126 OPS plus, had a 4.1 WAR, which leads this whole list. He has the largest WAR amount, which a lot of people come to like. He had 33 home runs, so he did not have 39. I don't know why I thought it was 39. I don't know. Now I sound kind of stupid. But he had a 0 DRS and 38% caught stealing. He had 16 passed balls compared to 14, my bad. 14 passed balls compared to Yasmani Grandal. And, you know, he really needs to work on that. A lot of people have said because he worked out so much in the offseason, he got really, really bulky and is having a hard time getting around to those balls. But supposedly they have him on a nice regimen, cardio and stuff, so he's going to be losing weight, be a little leaner, a little faster. So that's great. And Gary Sanchez does have a cannon, one of the best arms in baseball. He's a solid framer at that. Like I said before, 38% caught stealing, which is pretty good. Solid framer. Could use some work though, but great game caller as well. But he really needs to work on the pass balls. He actually did get benched for his defense later in the season by Joe Girardi. So he really needs to work on that. Other than that, I mean, he's 24 years old, can mash. He's primed to hit about 40 home runs next year, honestly. But we'll see. Now, the best catcher in baseball, obviously, is Buster Posey. There's no denying it. He's age 30, had 140 games played, 568 plate appearances, a 320 average, a 400 on base, a 462 slugging, and 129 OPS plus. He only hit 12 home runs, but Buster Posey's never really been that 30 home run hitter. Kind of sit around 20-ish, a little 15 to 20 home runs, so a little lower than usual. Had a -1 DRS. He had a 4 WAR. He walked 61 times compared to 66 strikeouts. So he only struck out 66 times in 568 plate appearances and walked 61 times. So that's pretty great. His approach at the plate has always been very good. So and he had a high OPS, high on base percentage to boot. His framing dropped. He's getting older. They're trying to transition him to first base. So we'll see what happens with that. So his framing did drop. He plays a solid first base. Throwing percent, 38% caught stealing. Still really good. Still wouldn't recommend running on him. But like I said, he's starting to decline with his defense. He's getting older, 30 years old. Not a lot of people catch after for so long. He's been up here since he was like 22, I think. So probably like 23, 22. I can actually check that. I'm actually curious myself to see when he came up. Buster Posey. Yeah, so when he was 22 years old, so I mean, he's been catching for about 8 years up in the big leagues. So you like to see him prolong his career. Not many people are like Yadier Molina and catch for 15 years in the majors. So they'll be moving him to first base full time soon, I believe. So uh, that's pretty much that. He is our number one ranked catcher, and I believe he'll still play a good amount of games at catcher this year. So that'll be something to look at right there. So that's pretty much it, guys. I got a couple people that I'd like to see improve overall as catchers this year. It was Jonathan Lucroy, generally would be on that list, but he had such a terrible season. Hopefully he'll bounce back somewhere, sign somewhere on 1 year deal or whatever he'd like to do, and really make better, I guess, on what he did last year because it was really bad, and that's not what Jonathan Lucroy's track record is. So it'd be really great to see him bounce back. Other than that, Brian McCann, I'd like to see him have a couple more good years at catcher because he's such a great guy. I really like him, and as a Yankee fan, I'm really sad to see him go, but got Gary Sanchez back in the lineup a lot more. Brian McCann's a great person, a great clubhouse leader, so I'd like to see him stay relevant for a couple more years. Great defender, too, when he was with the Yankees. I'm not too sure what his defense was this year, but kind of low, average, good power type guy. But I digress with all that stuff. So that was my top 10 catchers for the 2018 season coming up. You guys let me know how you like these videos. Nothing too fancy. Got MLB The Show playing in the background. Trying to something new out here. I've been wanting to. I just didn't know when I should start dropping these. But I am going to go through, all the way from catcher to right field. Do some starting pitchers, relief pitchers, closing pitchers. Just all my rankings and stuff like that personally. But if you guys would like to see me do my projections of what they could do this year, I'll really look into all that stuff and study up and give you guys some good projections if you'd like that. So that's pretty much it, guys. Just let me know how you guys like this. Leave a like, comment. If you want to talk baseball with me, I'm more than willing to do that. So just leave a comment. But this is Harley here, guys, and I am signing out. Peace.